Welcome to the Week 17 Saturday special of the Touchdown Show on the Action Network, presented by Bet365. I'm Gilles Gallant, and I'm joined every time with Charlie DeSturco and Brian Matthews, a.k.a. the BMAT. And why we're here today is we want to talk about Saturday Night Football. We're going to be talking about this Saturday night game between the Lions and the Cowboys with the total of 52. Now, that total has actually come down. It was around 54. It has since come down, but it is still the highest total of the week. So, gentlemen, let's talk about the anytime touchdown odds in this game. See where maybe there could be some value and maybe some early bets that we're looking at for guys to score in this game. But before we do that, let's look at the touchdown odds for the top 8 players on the board. And right at the top, of course, would be wide receiver CeeDee Lamb at -138. But his running mate, Tony Pollard, running back, also at -138. Very interesting odds there, especially considering he hasn't really been getting into the end zone yet this year and only has 5 touchdowns. And then right after that is the pair of running backs from the Lions with David Montgomery at +105 and Jahmyr Gibbs at +120. Our guy Jake Ferguson, tight end, all the way down to +137. Right behind him is rookie tight end Sam Laporta, or Sammy Ballgame, as B-Matt likes to call him, at +150. And rounding out the top 8 is Brandon Cooks at +150, and my guy, Sun God, USC legend Amon-Ra St. Brown at +160. So I'll put this question to both of you. We'll start with you, Charlie. When you look at these touchdown odds and you're looking at the top 8, is there any value that you're seeing, or are you kind of on the same boat with me where, you know, primetime odds tend to get steamed, and especially in a game with a high total, it's difficult to find value with some of these top guys?
Yeah, no, I'm totally there with you. Like when I look at this board and the guys that I circled before even looking at the odds, it's like Jake Ferguson or it's Sam Laporta, and then you look at their odds and Jake Ferguson under +140 is a travesty. Like I don't understand some of these odds, but that makes sense given the high totals and whatnot. So when I really look at this game, I think it's a props game. Like you want to attack props because it'll be high octane and a lot of possessions, but if you want to get in the touchdown market, and like where I am targeting is I'm taking dart throws. I'm taking guys like Kevontae Turpin at +800, Jalen Tolbert at +600. These two guys, long shot receivers for the Cowboys. That's where I think that all of this thrives, right? Like, and just quickly, like Turpin, the definition of explosive, a gadget receiver, can really make an impact when it comes to kick returning, as he does end arounds, good for about 1 a game. And then he's a deep threat on offense. And Detroit is really weak against the deep ball. They're about 22nd in DVOA. So where you can beat them is taking a deep shot. And that's where I find the value in these long guys, Turpin and Tolbert. And then Tolbert, he's basically, on the snap count as the same of Michael Gallup. So his odds at +600 as the better deep threat, playing 40 to 50% of the snaps and having an ADOT of about 14. I love taking a chance with him here too. Plus, these two guys will be playing if it's a blowout, and Dallas just absolutely blows the doors off him. So even more chance like we saw on Thanksgiving when Turpin caught that touchdown. So those are the two guys that I'm looking for. Dart throws, not taking anything inside the top 8 unless Jake Ferguson, tomorrow morning I wake up and all of a sudden he's +180.
Well, I mean, with the Cowboys offense, especially playing at home, the passing offense is where you want to look, especially with Dak Prescott, who's got 20 touchdowns and only 2 picks in home games this year. You see his completion percentage go up to around 74%, where it's around 63% on the road. So I completely get why you're looking more at the long shot aspect. I wanted to talk about Jake Ferguson, though, a little bit more, and just the fact that where we're seeing his odds progress as the season has gone on, because he has all the red zone metrics that we love to use and cite, especially targets inside the 10, but his odds are continuing to go down, where it's kind of making it almost nearly unbettable in a matchup that isn't a slam dunk matchup. You know what I mean? But at the same time, this is the second lowest odds he has had for an anytime touchdown this year. The first was +135 when he was playing against the Commanders. I should mention that because he did not score in that game. Scored the following week against the Seahawks when his odds were a little more valuable, around like +185, right? So, BMAT, what I wanted to ask you is that Ferg, you've picked him before on the show. I know you like Sammy Ballgame as well, Sam Laporta. Would you be eyeing either of these tight ends, or are you going to be looking at maybe one of the Lions running backs?
Yeah, so I I'm with you guys on value. Like so much of touchdown betting is value, and that's why we use multiple books, and you find good odds here, some better odds there. But yeah, I mean, I do love Jake Ferguson. Like you said, the red zone numbers are off the charts as far as his targets, but I'm with Charlie. I'm hoping I wake up tomorrow, see that it's, plus 180 or above. Otherwise it is, I mean, they're basically treating him like he's going to see, 15, 16 targets. That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Lions. I think they've unleashed a rookie running back finally, Jahmyr Gibbs. We've been waiting on, Montgomery kind of had a stranglehold on at least the valuable carries, but as we've seen Gibbs, he's got 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games. And the thing that I like about Gibbs is he's game script proof.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if they're winning by 20, if they're losing by, 14, whatever it is, he's either going to be getting work in the pass game or they're going to feed him on the ground. And he has added a different element, I have to add. He does look, he's explosive. We've seen what he can do, and the Lions are trusting him more and more. So that's what I'm going with on that side. I do love Ferguson. And then on the other side, I'm going a little bit of a longer shot. Josh Reynolds. He's much better against man coverage. Cowboys are much more susceptible to the deep ball. So, I know we look and you're like, all right, well, he doesn't have, 7 catches or 6 catches. It's like, well, if you look back, it's like 3 catches, a touchdown, 2 catches, a touchdown. It's like, you know what? Sometimes it's just, where the opportunities happen. So, I like Reynolds, and I'm seeing him, anywhere from in the plus 400s, even a plus 500 out there. So, if plus 400 or above, that's where I really like it. So I think him or Jameson Williams, with their ability to stretch the field are 2 solid candidates. So those are the 2 I'm going with.
I think you made a solid point too about Gibbs, about game script, because a lot of the time we look at these running backs and they're around plus 120, but then they get down by 2 scores and you don't see them out there anymore.
Yeah.
Like Derrick Henry is like a perfect example where Tyjae Spears immediately just takes over all the backfield work. Whereas Gibbs, I mean, we've seen it against the Ravens, we've seen it against the Chargers, that when they get down and they're starting to have that pass catching, they're playing that hurry up offense, Gibbs is the guy out there, not necessarily Montgomery. So I think that's a solid point to make about when you're trying to compare and trying to pick between the 2, one at plus 120, the other one at plus 105. I think Gibbs does have the edge as a result of that, based on the fact that the game script won't affect his usage. But the one guy that I'm actually surprised that his odds went up compared to last week, because for anybody who watches the show, I bet Amon-Ra St. Brown last week at plus 140. Yes. Now, I like him again at plus 160, but I do find it interesting that his odds have gone up. And part of the reason why that is because of this Cowboys defense. They've only allowed 10 touchdowns to wide receivers all year. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is kind of matchup proof in that sense, because he has thrived both versus man coverage, which the Cowboys play the most, and zone coverage. But he's got 8 touchdowns this year, 5 in just the last 7 games. And when they're playing indoors, this Lions offense is just way faster. Their pace picks up. St. Brown's averaging like 10 targets per indoor game this year. And Jared Goff, you see his numbers splits. He's got 20 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions in indoor games. But then when he plays in an outdoor game, like maybe going to Green Bay or Chicago, it's about a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So it doesn't really lend itself that well to betting on passing touchdowns for the Lions when they're playing outdoors. So indoors is where you want to get that track meet, hence why we have this total around 52. But this Cowboys team, they thrive on that pass rush, right? And with their pass rush, Goff is going to need to get rid of it quick. And that's why guys like St. Brown, Laporta, or Gibbs, who all have the lower ADOT on the Lions, that's kind of the guys where I think he's going to have to target quickly, even though the Cowboys have struggled against the deep ball. So that's why I kind of do like Josh Reynolds as well with you, BMAT, because, again, he has thrived versus man coverage. And the Cowboys, they're 21st in DVOA versus the deep pass. And again, if you're trying to pick between the 2, I would probably rather Reynolds over, say, Jameson Williams, who just hasn't, even though he will thrive in this kind of spot, it's boomer bust a lot of the time, because he's not going to see a ton of targets. So that would be kind of where I would say if we're looking at Reynolds. But from a Cowboys perspective, guys, I know he's at plus 150 at Bet365, but I'm seeing a plus 175 out there. I do kind of like Brandon Cooks in this spot. The Lions do rank 26th in DVOA versus the wide receiver 2. He has the highest ADOT of all the Cowboys wide receivers. Not only do the Cowboys struggle versus the deep pass, Lions do as well. And Brandon Cooks as well really thrives indoors as opposed to outdoors. So 4 of his 6 touchdowns at home, 5 of 6 indoors. So Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brandon Cooks, it's the passing games, I think, is where we have to look and try to find value. It's just, you got to really you got to really dig deep sometimes to be able to find that. So that's kind of where I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brandon Cooks, and then maybe a long shot on Josh Reynolds. BMAT likes Jahmyr Gibbs and Reynolds as well. And Charlie, of course, love the long shots, especially on the Cowboys side with Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert. Yes, Turpin time. All right. He's actually the most profitable anytime touchdown scorer in the NFL this year, for what it's worth. All right, that's all for today. Enjoy the game on Saturday. We'll be back on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern as part of the Action Network Power Hour. Make sure to download the Action app. You could track your own bets, and you could see what anytime touchdown bets we've got set now for Week 17. Thank you for watching the Touchdown Show presented by Bet365. Bon chance.